In today's video, I'm going to show you how to turn this boring photo into a cinematic photo following these steps. So first step, you want to set your white balance. I didn't do this. I have mine on automatic. I don't know why, but I always do it. Profile, Adobe Color. Temperature, for this one, I did 4,436. Left the tint as that. And then the exposure, I turned down to negative 0.25, just a tad bit, not too much. And then I didn't touch anything. And then shadows, I increased by 35. For the texture, I turned up by 23. And for the clarity, 35. And then for the dehaze, 13. So the reason why I did this is because when you zoom in, you want to have that CA logo or any logo just as sharp as you can. So if people decide to zoom in, yeah. For the vibrance, you want to turn up by 12. All right, so now we get into tone curves. Tone curves are a little more complex when it comes to photo editing. So if you don't know how to master tone curves, I highly recommend watching a YouTube video. There's thousands of videos out there on how to do tone curves. So let's get into it. So the bottom one right here, which is kind of just messes with like the blacks, I guess. You want to have the input to 11, and that's it. So this one kind of messes with the shadows, the second point right here. So for the input, you want to have 58, and then for the output, you want to have 64. And so for the third one, you kind of want to have it at 163 for the input, and then 174 for the output. And then for the fourth one, we're going to place right underneath here. This one, I really don't know. It kind of messes with the whites a little bit too. But for the input, you want to have 238. And then the output, you want to have 224. All right, so for this one, you want to have the output to 253. And then the output, 242. And then that's just the whites. And then for the reds, you just want to slightly increase it, kind of like in the middle. You want to have the input at 126. And then for the output, 132. I know right now it looks a little red, but please trust me on this one. We're going to get that cinematic look in a short time. As we move on to the greens, you kind of want to place it around here. And the output, you want to have 203. And then the output, 210. So kind of increase the greens a little bit, give that little like cinematic feel, but we're not done yet, so please trust me on this one. Moving on to the blue ones, you kind of just want to slightly decrease this. So input 255 and the output 248, and then we're done with the curves. So now moving down to the color mixer, I'm gonna change the hue for the red to +10, saturation to 30, and just leave the luminance as that. And then you want to skip the orange. Now moving on to the yellow one, you want to set the hue to -20, and then the saturation also to -20. Leave the luminance as is, and then you want to move on to the green one. Don't do anything with the hue. +6 in saturation, and then -14 for luminance. So you want to skip over the aqua and the blue, and you want to move on to purple. Purple, you want to have just the saturation to -20. And then moving on to the color grading, this is where you get that cinematic feel. The midtones, the hue, you want to have at 41. Saturation to be 8. And that's where the hue is. Now moving on to the shadows. The shadows, you want to have a hue of 164. The saturation to be 14. And that's all you have to do. Now moving on to the highlights. The highlights, you want to have the hue at 86 and saturation at 10, and the luminance to be -53, and you're all done with that. But here's the important thing overall. As you go down to the balance and blending, you want to have the balance also at 50 so it balances out. Okay, so as we move down, you want to do the manual noise reduction. I haven't tried out the AI noise reduction, but I heard it was pretty good. So you want to have the luminance to 20, detail to 50, and then the color also to 50, and you just leave it as that. And personally, I like to add the lens correction. It automatically detects what make I have for my camera, what camera lens I have, and what profile I'm using. And then as we go down to the vignette, I always love vignettes. Vignettes are really cool. when it comes to photo editing. So you want to put it to -17, midpoint 50, round it to 0, and feather to be 50. And then the grain, you can't go wrong with grain. So 24 amount, 10 for size, and then roughness you want to have a 50, and then all the way down to calibration, you want to increase the hue and saturation for blue primary, hue to 0, and then the saturation to 70, and boom, there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you guys like some more tutorials, comment down below which tutorial you guys would want to watch, and have a great day.